Through you, Mr. Chair, there is one request for item number 34, 191 Ashdale Avenue. However, this is scheduled for 3:30 or shortly thereafter. No, none for this afternoon.
Hello, my name is Judy Sunselet. I am the architect and agent for 98 Watson Avenue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Having reviewed the material on file, I believe what is being requested is indeed minor. The FSI from 0.6 to 0.7 is minor. There is a parking variance, but the information submitted to the committee shows that there is indeed a licensed parking space on the front lawn. I don't think what is being proposed is at all out of character with what exists in the neighborhood. And if my colleagues have no further comments, I would make a motion to approve the application with no conditions.
Hi, my name is Mahia Rahimi on behalf of the owner. I'm on behalf of the owner. I'm not the owner.
Yeah, my question relates to the proposed FSI, and if the applicant can provide a context of how does the proposed FSI fit in with the character in the area?
Yes. If I may answer through you, Mr. Chair. So the overall FSI that we are asking is because of the limited size of the land. The variants that you're asking today are mainly due to the restricted size of the land. So the depth of the land is really shallow. But if you look at the overall area that we are asking for today is smaller than most of the new development in the area. So overall area of what we are proposing is smaller than most of the new dwelling in the area.
So just to clarify, this is 7.4 meter wide lot, and so is this lot smaller than the lots in the area, and that's the reason why it has a higher FSI proposed?
So yes, this actually this is the smallest area in depth. It's a smaller lot in depth in that area. Most of the lot, like adjacent to this lot, has the depth of I think 135, and this one has the depth half of that. So it's actually 75 feet.
Thank you.
Thank you. That covered half of my question. I guess the other, to follow up on that, you're asking for a variance for sidewall height. How will this fit in the area as well? I noticed there's some bungalows and things around. So is there any examples of current heights like what's being proposed?
Yes, there is an example. Just let me look at what number is on Alameda. It's right in front of this proposed building, few street down. I think it's 76 Alameda. It's basically the same layout. So it's a 3-story with the middle portion of the dwelling is 3-story, and there's 2 setback at front and back. So basically a similar layout that you're asking for.
Okay, thank you. It's down the street a little bit. That's correct?
Yes.
I think I've seen it. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Well, I think that clarified for me in terms of the concern I had with the post FSI. This is a 25-foot frontage lot, and that it kind of explains to me why the addition would raise the FSI to what is being proposed. I think the other variants as well are minor, and so I would move approval of the requested variances subject to urban forestry condition number 2.
Sava Milkovic, good afternoon, Chairman, members of the committee.
Thank you. The only thing that I was wondering about were the sort of the different levels of exterior stairs that are leading down from the 3rd floor deck to the 2nd and then to the ground floor. Are those like a fire code thing, or and is there privacy? I think you might be providing privacy on one side, but I'm not sure. I'm just considering, you know, from a neighbor's perspective, if there's going to be an overlook issue from that.
Right, yeah, so we definitely got ahead of it in terms of providing privacy screens. And we consulted both our immediate neighbors as per the supporting signatures to make sure that they didn't have any issues. So the privacy screens are probably best represented on the other side elevation. They're noted there as well, but yeah, you can see them there. So the 2 privacy screens. So yeah, we were sensitive to that and made sure that our neighbors were okay with it. So for that
That's
reason,
great.
we feel it's appropriate. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That answers my question. Thank you. So the neighbors are aware and they're on board, and you've got the privacy screen. So that's great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
If no further questions, let's move to a motion, please. Ms. Valentini, yes, go ahead.
Thank you. The materials, I think, spoke for themselves. I think they're well prepared. I did note in terms of the FSI variance that the existing is already well over the permitted FSI, and I noted it at 0.92. So I don't think this addition is making the existing extremely larger. It's nice that they've consulted with their neighbors, had discussions, and even accommodated any sort of issues with respect to privacy and overlook by putting those screens in for, you know, what is, I thought was an expensive staircase, but I'm satisfied with that explanation. So I'd like to bring a motion forward for approval of the application. And I don't think there are any conditions unless maybe we tie it to the plans to show the screening in place for the decks. I don't know what plan that was, and I'm just trying to scurry through my notes to find it.
A4.2.
Perfect.
I think
Yeah,
so.
if it should.
Very good.
Oh yeah, perfect. So subject to with the, tying it to for the screening.
Very good. That's good. I think staff have captured that. So there is a second, Ms. Hayes. Seconds. It is moved and seconded to approve the application. Show of hands, please, those in favor. And Ms. Hayes is frozen again. Ms. Hayes, I'm sorry, somehow you froze there. Okay, good. That is a unanimous vote. So the motion is carried. The application is so approved. On number 24, 32 PRUST Avenue, the only materials before the panel are those submitted with the application. We'll now ask the applicant to join us, please.
Hi, my name is Mike Oliveira. I'm here representing 32 PRUST. I will take place in design located at 911 Davenport Road.
Very good. Good afternoon. Let's just check with the moderator. Now, moderator, do we have someone standing by to speak on this?
Yes, we have one.
Thank you very much. So, Mr. De Oliveira, you have 5 minutes to present your application highlights to the panel. Please go ahead.
Okay. Well, I believe our application is pretty straightforward. This is a home that's already had multi-units in it for years. Our client simply expressed to go forward with a building permit to do some minor alterations to the interior floor space of the home, and in doing so, it came to our attention that it was never legally multi-unit.
Mr.
So
De Oliveira?
Yes.
Just so you know, we're hearing you, but you're slightly soft. Your voice is slightly muted or soft somehow, so you might want to try a little closer to the microphone or turning your volume up if you can do that.
Okay, certainly.
That's better.
Yeah, so as I was saying, our application is pretty straightforward. This is a home that's had multiple units for years. In part of applying for a building permit, it came to our attention that it was never legally multi-unit, so we were given a variance to legalize the area of secondary suites due to the changes in the bylaw. So we're not really proposing any major changes here today from what's existing. It's just kind of legalizing what's been in existing condition for years. Really open to any questions there might be. There's not really any variances related to anything else. We're not doing anything to the exterior. It's a pretty straightforward application, I believe.
Okay then, panel, any questions? This seems to be pretty straightforward. There's no new construction involved here at all. It is simply legalizing the existing. That's correct?
That's correct. It's just some minor interior alterations to the rooms, but nothing that really changes what's been there for years or the aesthetic of the property at all.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Panel members. Ms. Hayes, go ahead.
Thank you. I believe this is indeed minor. It is a multi-unit structure. Previously, as the applicant said, I believe the variance in terms of interior floor area is not significant, and I have no problem moving a motion to approve the application with no conditions.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair, we do have one speaker waiting on the line.
I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon, my fault. Yes, we do. So, Ms. Hayes, my fault on that, I apologize.
That's okay. I will withdraw that motion until we hear from this speaker.
Thank you. Let's go to the speaker who is standing by with my apology.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we do, Robert.
Hi, it's Robert Bongard. Thank you for letting me speak, Mr. Chairman and members. I live in the, there's 3 apartments, not 2. The drawings indicate 2 apartments, but in fact, I live in the one that's in the basement. The drawing Z2 shows a staircase where there is none. That, in fact, is my kitchen. And it says that it's existing, and as Mr. D'Oliveira said, it was existing just now, but that's not the case. It isn't. If you look at Z3, the top of those stairs, it says, I can't quite see, it seems to say new, but the drawings indicate that it's an existing, no changes to that floor. So the building permit, if it were to be honest, would, and the proposal would show structural work to add a new staircase. This, I think, is an end run around the Committee of Adjustments, which is, the Landlord-Tenant Board, which is, we're currently in dispute with the landlords. We have 3 disputes with the landlords over this. And they're trying to suggest today to you that they're just normalizing a 2-bedroom place and making some changes on the 2nd and 3rd floor. I think that's what the application said on, sorry, on the document.
Yes, to legalize and maintain 2 secondary suites within the existing 3-story semi.
Yes, and it also says interior alterations to 2nd and 3rd floor. Well, to create what they propose here would require adding a set of stairs, which is structural and would require a building permit. So I think that this proposal's been put forward with false information and falsified drawings.
Are there any questions for this speaker panel? Mr. Solomon, go ahead.
Yeah, so how many units are there in this 3-story house? You said you live in the basement, and so there's 1 unit in the basement. What other units are there on the 1st and, the ground, 2nd and 3rd floors?
There is another unit on the ground floor with a separate entrance and bathroom and kitchen. And then the 2nd and 3rd floor are the 3rd unit. And I've lived in this building since 2010, and I've been in all these units, visiting the various people who live here.
Sure. And Mr. Bongard?
So just to clarify, there are 3 units then in this
3
house.
units in total. 3 units in total.
I just want to clarify that secondary suites is extra on top of the principal.
Who's that?
Unit.
Who's that? Oh, it's Mr.
2
Singh.
secondary suites means 3 units.
Okay.
So
Okay.
the statement is actually correct in the application.
Okay.
I
But not
guess.
the drawing.
Yeah, the drawing about the staircase. Yes, you're right. That if your information is correct, then the staircase is new but not existing.
So,
It would be new if they get the permits for it, and
So-
they get me out and they get to build it, then it would be new.
so Mr.
But right
Bongard,
now,
Mr. Bongard, let me just go back a little bit, if I may ask you a question. So you're in the basement now, and the basement now is a discrete, separate unit with access only from outside front or back entries?
from the back, that's correct.
And so there is no staircase internally that goes from the basement to the second floor. That's your kitchen.
None at all, that's my kitchen, yeah.
Okay. That's okay. Thank you. Any other questions for the
It
speaker?
also indicates that the room, which is my bedroom, indicates that that's a mechanical room, existing mechanical room. It's not an existing mechanical room. This is on, I think, Z2. It is in fact just a bedroom with a closet.
I guess my last question to the tenant is, other than the interior inaccuracy of the drawings, is there anything that is building outside of the building that is not shown in the drawings?
No, they've missed some windows, but no, they're not making any exterior changes to it that I can see in the drawings.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. If there are no further questions for Mr. Bongard, let's go back to the agent who has first a chance to rebut, and after that there'll be a chance for the panel to ask questions of the agent. So back to the agent now for rebuttal, specifically to those issues raised by the speaker in opposition.
Certainly. So in terms of the new stairs that are shown on the drawings, those are part of a permit we actually did get released. That was submitted back in I believe early 2021.
Excuse me, excuse me. I am having.
There might be some discrepancy in the drawings that's currently in with committee.
Pardon me.
As proposed.
Pardon
Sorry.
me.
Yep.
I am having. This is important, and I'm having a little difficulty hearing you. So if you could stay close to the mic, and please begin again. Go back to what you were saying about those stairs, because that's very important that we understand what the situation is with the stairs.
Yes. So in early 2021, we did get a permit release that shows new stairs to the basement. So that is the kind of discrepancy that's being brought up here by the current tenant. I'm not that involved in the discussions they've had about the tenant leaving, so I can't really speak too much to any disagreements that have been happening there. But in terms of changes to site, originally this did have 3 units, as mentioned. I believe there's just some discrepancy in the drawing about the basement being shown as unit 1, but the notice is correct. We are trying to legalize 2 secondary suites. So that is what we're moving forward with today. But as I mentioned, these are existing suites that were never legalized before. So it's something we're trying to get cleared up now.
Where I've heard reference to the application being to legalize and maintain the 2 suites, secondary suites, but also to allow for some interior alterations. But I don't have that on my application. On the notice, it says the purpose of the application is to legalize and to maintain 2 secondary suites within the existing 3-story semi.
Yes.
Where does it say and to allow some other construction?
Well, the other construction is just the interior alterations that usually doesn't get brought up in the description of work. It's part of the general description of the application.
Okay, so that's not all right. So I just want to make sure we're dealing with the same notice. Okay, so if you would please carry on with you're still on your rebuttal. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, so the new stairs that I mentioned, that is part of the permit that we have had in with the city for early 2021. That's part of what we've moved forward with the committee adjustment here today. It's part of our overall changes. In terms of some of the other cases that they brought up about arguments with the landlord and them moving out, I don't think that's necessarily something that the panel members deal with or something I can really speak upon. It's something that is to be discussed between them and the landlord. See here, I don't think they had any other comments that were really related to the overall planning here, but kind of flip through that.
Okay, I think there's some questions for you. Ms. Hayes first, Ms. Valentina to follow.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I would like clarity here. The purpose of the application suggests you want to legalize a structure that has a primary suite and 2 secondary suites.
Yes.
The plans attached to your application show a building with 2 suites, one on the main floor, the basement and the main floor, and another suite on the 2nd floor and the 3rd floor. So are the plans submitted as part of this application a future thought? Because they don't match what the description is of the application.
So sorry, is it a future thought to create, like turn it into the 2 unit instead of?
Well, the plans speak to that there's only 2 units in this structure. The description says it's 3. Which is it?
Currently, the house does have 3 units, but those 3 units were never done legally. So this all got triggered while we were in for the building permit for all the interior alterations to create what you're seeing in these plans here. So as part of the entire change, we were told we had to come to committee to get a clearance because of the change to the secondary suite bylaw for the overall areas of the units. So with that, we're here with this one variance to the overall area of secondary suites. It's a little bit of a mess because this never was legal in the first place, but now our homeowners are trying to legalize it.
Okay, but the permit process to allow for the 2 suites, is that is that calculation what's in the interior area calculation? Or is it the existing 3 suites that make up the interior area calculation?
It's the existing 3 suites because we
do you need, okay, to go with the 2 suites, is there any variances necessary?
No, but that's what we have a permit for already, just to get the ball rolling.
A permit for what? I'm sorry.
Sorry, we originally when we applied, the house has 3 units. So in order to get a permit release that would allow us to begin doing some of the work, we moved forward as it would convert from the 3 units down to 2 because that wouldn't require any variances. So in order for them to continue work, we moved along with that permit. And while we waited for committee of adjustment, they could work on doing other changes. And now here at committee, we could get approval for the entire secondary suite unit area and move forward as the existing 3 units coming back.
So am I hearing correctly that you're saying that they won't issue a new permit until you legalize what's currently there?
Essentially, they won't release a permit, yes, unless we legalize what was there. So in order to keep things moving.
Even though that's not what you're intending to go forward with?
Yeah. We knew we'd have to wait until committee to clear this up, so that's kind of the in-between we're at.
Ms. Valentina, your question?
I don't really know now. I wanted to know how many. I'm confused now. I thought there were 3 units, and if the person who's in the basement unit hadn't come forward, it appears that there are 2 units on the drawing. So I'm still completely confused as to how many units are going to happen. Are they going to be 2 units or 3 units?
In the end, it'll be 3.
Okay,
If we have
so
it
there'll be
for
3
today.
units. The plans are wrong then. The plans we have before us are inaccurate. They don't show the 3rd kitchen in the basement unit. Is that correct?
Right, the plans that are in don't show the basement kitchen, yes.
Okay, so what we're approving involves a basement apartment with the kitchen, main floor, that is just the main floor as another unit, and the 3rd unit is on the 2nd and 3rd floors. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's what we're approving, or not approving, but we're considering.
Considering, yes, and our only variance again is related to those areas which are existing, it's just because of how we need to move through.
So what is the primary suite then in this situation? Is it the 2nd and 3rd floor unit? That's the biggest one, so that's the primary suite? Or, okay, the main suite, okay.
So then to speak to the, just was one follow-up, sorry, to speak to what the current basement tenant is speaking to, then is there going to be a construction of a staircase to the basement, or is that not happening?
I believe that's still planning in case they revert back in the future, but.
I beg your pardon, would you mind repeating that for me, please?
Sorry, I couldn't hear the chair.
I'm sorry, I missed your answer. If you could answer the question about whether that staircase to the basement will be built or not. I missed the start of it, so somehow I'm having a hard time hearing you. So go slowly to answer that question, please.
Yes, the stairwell to the basement would be built.
So if the stairwell is built to, the basement, then the basement will no longer be a discrete secondary suite. Is that correct?
Well, the stair can be enclosed so that it's not used by the upper unit. So it could still be there without it necessarily providing access to the other suites. It just provides for future access if required.
I think I just want to ask some questions to clarify, because I think I know what you're doing. At what stage of your construction right now? Are you going to close the building permit?
The permit that we received already? No, the idea would be we go back and get a revision to that permit.
I see. Because the way I look at it is you try to pretend that we are doing a two units in order to get the permit without any minor variance, and that's how you started to get your first permit. But then you now, since you have the permit to construct, you have the time to wait for the minor variance application for about 6 to 8 months. And so you're here now to show us exactly what you want, but you use the old set of drawings. Am I right? I mean, you can be honest. I mean, it's not going to affect our decision. We just want to know why you present us an older set of drawings, but in fact, this is what you were pretending to do at the beginning to buy time, right?
Essentially, that's kind of the process we were trying to get the approval.
You forgot to resubmit the new drawings for this application, but the description is correct. Okay, yes. So I guess the challenge for us as committee member is to approve something that seems to be okay to me, but with wrong drawings. I just don't know how to proceed.
Okay, at this stage, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask the agent to stand by. I want to take this into committee so we can get some discussion on it. So agent, do not go. Stand by, please. Panel members, I can sense your confusion. I share it. And I think Ms. Hayes got close to the issue when she said that the purpose of the application and the drawings we're looking at, still in my view, they still appear to be two separate things. And when I
Bruce, sorry to interrupt you, but I'm having trouble hearing. I'm not sure if it's just my audio, but I'm having trouble hearing the committee room.
I'm so sorry. Okay, so anyway, my comment was, I'm confused the same as I think some of you are by this application. And Ms. Hayes got close to the issue when she said that the purpose of the application as stated and the set of drawings that we're looking at aren't in sync with each other.
So
I still think that's the case.
But how did the zoning examiner then determine what the variances were. Like, what plans were they reviewing? Like, what was, like, how did we come to the description and the calculation of the variances without plans?
The question to the applicant, did you sign a waiver?
No, we're still in committee here, Aaron, so let's not go to the applicant now.
Sorry.
It doesn't say it's a waiver, Aaron.
Mr. Salomon, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I would suggest that this application should be deferred to give the applicant a chance to resubmit accurate, correct plans that reflect what they are proposing.
I think there's some merit in that idea. The other option is to
Chair?
refuse it.
Chair, I wondered if staff have the zoning review available, that they could see what the zoning examiner looked at.
Let's give them a moment to check that.
Thank you. I just wonder if that provides any clarity at all.
We need some.
Because otherwise, I agree with Mr. Solomon. This is,
Is there any chance to enlighten us?
Sorry, what were you looking for?
Well, the question was whether staff can go back to the zoning examiners. Okay, I'm reading that now, okay.
This is the only variance in the zoning notice with no description of the work.
Okay, so there's the answer panel. Well, what we have is what you see before us. I don't think it solves our issue.
well, the way that it's described here, it does suggest that the zoning examiner had identified the 2 suites as being on the ground floor and basement, which is different than the plans that we have. That would support what the applicant said, but it doesn't, I don't know what plans they calculated at all.
Now, that would suggest that the second and third story suite is being deemed to be the primary suite, and the main floor and basement are the secondaries. But I still think we're left with the issue that's been identified. So, I think we're left with still a tremendous lack of clarity here. So, Mr. Solomon, do you have any interest?
Yeah, so I'd like to move a motion that this application be deferred so that the application can resubmit accurate plans that reflect what the proposed variance is for.
Is there a second to that motion? It is seconded by Mr. Chang. So moved and seconded to defer in order to allow for revision of the application to better reflect the variances sought. Those in favor, show of hands, please. And that is a unanimous vote. To carry the motion, the application is thereby deferred. And the panel moves along to number 25. (109) Riverdale Ave. On this application, the committee has before it the following communication. Applicant materials as submitted, 2 photographs of the existing dwelling, October the 15th. Email correspondence from City Planning, January 5. Staff report from Transportation, January 5. There is support correspondence from 118, 111, 111, and 105 Riverdale Ave. And we'll now ask, we do have one speaker standing by, moderator, is that correct? Okay, thank you. Then we'll ask the owners on this application to join us, please. Stating your names.
Good afternoon. It's Alex Letchford at 109 Riverdale Ave. But unfortunately, my wife, who intended to be here, is an elementary school teacher, and the world being what it is today has made it unavailable for her to join, I'm afraid.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, Alex, you have now 5 minutes to present the highlights of your application to the panel. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair and committee members for hearing our application today. I think the nature of our project is fairly straightforward. We're just simply looking to close in the existing porch using the existing structure with no addition to structure in that sense. The impetus of the project was just to get some shelter for items on our front porch. We were having a baby, and we just wanted a safe and dry place for things. So we thought our project was very much in keeping with the nature of the community, of the zoning bylaws and the plan, and incidentally, it turns out to be quite common in all directions in our community. So, in our position, the variance is minor in nature. It's supported by our neighbors in all directions, and we would simply ask that for the approval. I guess the issue is that with the addition of the doors to the porch, it requires the reorientation of the stairs to accommodate a 30-inch landing at the top and bottom, and so as not to encroach any further onto the yard or city property as it currently does. The stairs are being turned, which forms the nature of the variance. And with that, I am happy to answer any questions or address any issues, provide any insights or clarity that might be helpful.
Thank you very much. Okay, I think we'll go on to hear first from the registered speaker who's standing by to speak. So let's have that speaker join us now by stating your name, please.
Is this me?
Good afternoon. You're with the panel now. Please state your name.
Hi, my name is Maya Matthews. I'm a neighbor at 91 Riverdale.
Very good.
I do not oppose the porch. I am hesitant about the deck and the stairs beyond the front property line. I think that that's not necessarily a precedent that we want to set along the street. There aren't actually any other enclosed porches on this portion of Riverdale. And adding what's essentially a porch in front of a porch is maybe not the direction the street should head.
Very good. So what would you like to see happen?
Well, I'm wondering if there's a way to not have the porch be on the front property line. The anti-porch, I guess it is.
Okay. And what do you, can you describe at all what the impact of that could conceivably be on the streetscape?
To be honest, I think the porch as drawn is not a problem. I'm more worried about the precedent that it sets for other neighbors deciding to build a porch in front of a porch, but get bigger and bigger, and then we don't have the nice porch landscape, community that we do have, that it just becomes the front wall of the house, gets closer and closer to the street, so we don't have a garden community.
Thank you very much. Panel members, any questions for this speaker? Let's return then to the agent and allow the agent a chance to comment on that in rebuttal. Not the owner, I guess. Pardon me. Owner?
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Matthews, for your comments, your thoughtful comments. And I do understand, I think, what you're articulating as a concern. And I would simply point out to you that the new footprint, the footprint of the new stairs will actually not encroach onto the, I believe you called it the yard or the city property, any more than the current footprint of the stairs does. So what we are doing, we're not trying to create a porch off of a porch. It's simply a mechanism to accommodate a 30-inch landing at the top of the staircase where the doors exist. So by turning the steps to run perpendicular to the front of the house, they will not encroach any further onto city property than they do currently. So we shared your concern. We didn't want to bump things out any further. And so we think this accomplishes that. And another thing I would mention, which you probably can't see on this drawing, but the house currently has its steps moved to the middle of the porch, which happened sometime prior to our moving in here 5 years ago. So our attached neighbor has stairs that abut up next to where our stairs will end up. So our new bottom stairs and landing will actually butt up against our neighbor's stairs. So effectively what we're doing is returning the position of our stairs to their existing location, which you'll actually see on a survey that was done before 2000, whenever that was done. You'll see the two staircases are shown as side by side. So we're actually going back closer to the way it was, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, panel, for the owner? In that case, let's take the application into committee for comments, if anyone has one, or for a motion, please. Ms. Valentini, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I did have a question for the owner, and it was just about the conditions that are being requested. I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, I should have mentioned this.
Go ahead.
I blanked out. The conditions requested by staff, one is an encroachment agreement for the encroachment on the stairs, but that's requested by Transportation Services into the Municipal Boulevard. And the other one is that it be built in accordance with the plans that the planning department's asked happen. And I was wondering if the owner had any issues with that. I want the owner to be aware that those are two conditions that are being requested.
Owner, please.
If we can go back out of committee.
Respond.
Yeah.
Sure, we're out of committee now again.
Yes, we are aware of the conditions and that they are acceptable to us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Salomon, go ahead.
If I can just make a clarification, I looked over the community planning condition and they refer to variance number 3 related to the front yard setback. I believe that should be referenced to variance number 1.
Okay, noted. Thank you.
front yard setback, is that not variance number 4?
Apologies, Chair. Is that a question being put to me?
It's being thrown out there into the ether. Yeah, I see. Variance number 4 applies to the front yard setback. So I see Mr. Solomon's concern, but I'm wondering which one is the proper one for it to be anybody?
Well, I think the community planning condition related to the front yard setback limited to the front proposed one-story porch enclosure. And I think that should relate to variance 1, which the dwelling minimum front yard setback. But
Okay, okay, that makes sense.
you could apply it, because I think variance 5 is the stairs, and variance 4 relates to the extent, how far the platform can extend or encroach into the front yard setback.
Very good. Okay, let's go back into committee unless there are further questions, which is fine. Ms. Valentini? Let's go back into.
No, I was going to bring a motion. I'm sorry, I jumped the gun.
Go ahead and bring a motion.
Thank you. So that being said, in my view, I'm in support of the application. I mean, they're adding 10 square meters or so to the existing footprint. They're enclosing the existing footfront porch. This is something that is located in the neighborhood in general. I don't think this is unusual request. We see it all the time. In fact, I think the proposed new landing / staircase will help tie it in better with the adjacent neighbor. And I thought that was a very good point that the applicant brought up. I had not thought of that, but I think that helps finish off the other side of the staircase for the attached neighbor. So I'm in support of the application. I'd like to bring a motion forward for approval, and I'd be subject to the conditions set out in the Transportation Services report about the encroachment agreement and the conditions set out in the planning memo as that it be changed to variance number 1, as pointed out by Mr. Solomon, and that they be tied to the plans as listed.
Thank you.
And that's it.
Thank you. Is there a second to? It is seconded by Ms. Hayes. So motion put forward and seconded to approve. Those in favor, show of hands, please. The motion is carried. Unanimous vote, and the application is so approved. Thank you. We move on to number 26. 283 Springdale Boulevard. On this application, we have applicant materials. There's an urban forestry permit issued May 2021. There is comment in the form of a staff report from urban forestry. And there is correspondence in support from 285 and 281 Springdale. And we'll ask the agent to join us. Please just state your name.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chair. I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing the comments back and forth, but I'll try my best. Are you able to hear me?
We hear you very clearly.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're sorry
Thank
about
you.
any sound issues.
Yeah, it's very garbly. My name's Michael Taylor. I'm the agent for the owners of 283 Springdale, and I would make a presentation, or I can answer any questions as needed.
Mr. Taylor, let me check with my colleagues to see if they'd like a presentation or whether they have any questions. Mr. Solomon, go ahead.
Yeah, I just would like to see a plan that shows the existing adjacent buildings on either lot to get an idea exactly how far back this addition extends in relation to the adjacent lot buildings.
You had something there, yep.
Yeah, I couldn't quite read.
Yeah,
that.
you did. No, there was something that, well, you've got the one building there on the top of the plan, right there where it's yeah, that's the one building. And on the other side, it's across the driveway, and they're probably about back the same distance. Now, one of the things that we were told with the neighbor to the 181, which is the neighbor right next door, is that they plan, as in discussion with them as far as whether they like the plans or not, was that they were planning to do exactly the same thing in the next year or so. The one on the to the bottom of the drawing, we don't know if they're going to be doing anything. But the neighbor to directly adjacent to them is planning to do a very similar renovation in the next few years, and that's why they were okay with the plan.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Valentini, go ahead.
Just to follow up with that then, will you be similar in length or depth as 285? With the
well, we don't know. They haven't actually applied for theirs.
No. I thought you were saying 281 was applying for the addition, and it's 285. We can't see on the plan. I'm sorry.
Right. It's the property right directly within a few feet. Yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Hayes, please.
Thank you. Could you speak a bit to the lot coverage variance and whether or not that's representative of other coverages in the area?
Yes, I can. I went through all of the property, all the committee decisions for the last 5 years, from Coxwell through to Woodbine, basically that corridor from Danforth up through to Cosburn. And I used the criteria of the 0.35 coverage and the 0.75 FSI, and I got an average of 60. It was quite a lot. There was 65 properties that had the same type of variance request, and for the coverage request, the average came out to 44.23, and we're asking for 45. And if you take out the shed that we have on this property, our coverage comes out to 42.6. So we're at the average of the variances for that section of the city. Does that answer your question?
Okay. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
What about on Springdale specifically? Because that's quite a big area you're speaking about, and the lot sizes vary quite a bit.
We have 298, and it has a 44. It has a 44%. Let me see, 298. Yeah, 44% variance. Queensdale, which is the street above, they were at 38. Let me just see. 98, which is a little bit along further from the street, it was 45.35, and 248 was 37.
Thank you.
And then on Queensdale, which is the next street up, they had one that was for 49. So it was, again, I tried to get I looked at all of the different variances for that area, and the variances, like I said, it came out to 44% approximately.
Okay, very good. If there are no further questions, I think we're ready to take this application into committee. Any further questions? Let's take it into committee then for Mr. Salomon. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is a very small lot, I note. I think it's like 20 feet in frontage. And at first I was concerned with the lot coverage, but I think given the small nature of this lot, I think in order to get an adequate sized building home on it, I think that's reflective then of the higher lot coverage. And so Also, I note that they aren't requesting a building length variance, and this addition fits then within that building length, the zoning building length regulation. So I think in totality, the variances are minor in nature.
Any other comments? Ms. Valentini, go ahead.
I think that's a really good point that has just been raised. I mean, in just looking at the plans, and the FSI, I looked at it and went, wow, this looks like it's, you know, it's quite large. But I think that's important to bear in mind that the existing house is quite small, and so is the lot. So, you know, while it looks large on the plans, I think it's actually not a very large house in the end, in any event. So I just quickly looked at the meter square, and it's not as large as I would have thought when I looked at the actual plans. So I think that's a good point. I agree with what you're saying. I think it does. It is in fact more minor than might otherwise appear.
Anyone ready for a motion?
I'll move a motion to approve the variances subject to urban forestry condition number 2.
Thank you. There is a second, Ms. Hayes. Seconds. So moved and seconded to approve subject to forestry. Those in favor, please show of hands. And that's a unanimous vote to carry the motion. The application is approved. On number 27, 43 Colgate Avenue, we are looking at submitted materials, cover letter December 15, arborist report September 13, comment from city planning January 10, staff report from forestry January 5th, and support from 45 Colgate and 47 Colgate in the form of support letters. We'll ask the agent now, please, to join us by stating your name.
Hi, committee members. My name is Paige Reisha from Bloom Inc. at 222 The Esplanade, Toronto, Ontario.
Good afternoon. Okay, then. Panel members, any requests here for a presentation or request? Ms. Hayes, go ahead.
Just wanted to know if the applicant was aware of the comments made by the planning department with respect to their recommendation for privacy screening, and if so, do they have any concerns with respect to that condition?
Yes, I saw the comments and my client is aware of them, and we do accept those comments, and we'll be providing privacy screens on the sides facing 41 and 45 Colgate.
And you're aware of the forestry condition as well?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. In that case, I think we can go into committee for a motion, please. Ms. Hayes, please. Ms. Hayes?
Thank you. I think that this is indeed minor. FSI allowables 1 and they want 1.03. I don't have a concern with respect to the variance number 2. I would be prepared to move a motion to approve the application subject to forestry condition 2 and the conditions outlined in the memo from the planning staff with respect to the screening.
Very good. Second there? It is seconded, Ms. Valentini. So, moved and seconded to approve. Those in favor, show of hands, please. Ms. Hayes? Sorry, okay. And that is a unanimous vote to carry the motion. The application is approved. Thanks a lot. All right, on 28, 471 Jones, There are applicant materials for us to look at. There's a revised site plan, 6th of January. There are a revised zoning waiver, 6th of January. There is email correspondence from city planning, and there is both support and opposition in the form of written correspondence. Support from 62 Marlow, opposition from 473 Jones, which would appear to be next door to the subject property. And on this application, we'll ask the agent to join us now. Please just state your name.
Hi, my name is Rakim. I'm the agent on behalf of the owner.
Very good. I'll just check with the moderator now. Moderator, do we have a party standing by? So, agent, you do have 5 minutes to present the highlights of your application to the panel. Please proceed.
Mr. Chair, could I just ask one question for clarification before we get started?
Go ahead.
I had noted in the supplementary materials that there was new plans that were submitted on January 6th, and that it would appear, if I read them correctly in the submissions, that the variance with respect to rear yard setback, which stated in the notice was 1.5 and they would like 0.8. The supplementary materials now say they're reducing that variance to 1.2. Another thing I noticed was there was a new zoning review as part of those plans, and they noted on a variance that I didn't see as part of the notice, which is the GFA variance to bylaw 43886. So I just want to make sure that I've read that supplementary material correctly, and that those would be changes that would be necessary in terms of what we're actually considering.
Thank you very much. So, Agent, I will ask you to address the issues that have been raised by the panel member as you make your presentation, please. Go ahead, Agent.
Yeah, okay. We has been revised the drawing as per the planner's request. The rear yard setback has been reduced, and then the 45 angular plan after like higher than the 4 meter from the distance from the original house, 7.5 meter, it's been removed. Actually, we made 45 degree, and then neighbor has a clear the skylight, and then those kind of thing, and then it's been removed. And then we have an issue for the setback, rear yard setback. 1.5 meter requires, and the 1.2 meter you're gonna have, and then the 75% of the.
Okay, Agent.
Yeah.
I'm just going to interrupt you for a moment, if I may, please. Okay, so here's what I want to ask you. Your application consists of 5 minor variance requests. Do we need to alter some of those now? Alter the numerical values in line with what you're telling us? Do any of the minor variances change?
Number 1 and 3 has been removed.
1 and 3 are eliminated.
Yeah, and then number 2, change the number 0.8 to 1.2 meter.
In number 2, to change, okay.
0.8 meter.
Just a second. Let me catch up with you, please. Okay, 0.8 becomes
1.2 meter.
1.2. Thank you very much.
Yeah, number 4 is stay as it is. This is the landscape area.
Okay. Okay, that's very good. So 1 and 3 eliminated, and 2 changes to 1.2 meters from the rear east lot line. Thank you very much. I'm going to
Chair, I just wanted, do they need that variance noted in the supplementary zoning review for under bylaw 43886 to the gross floor area.
Agent?
For ask me, actually, I don't know. Actually, there was no comment for that, the original comment. We're reducing the size right now, so.
I just noted on that document that's on,
Sorry,
if you go up a bit.
Oh, that's the example thing, I think.
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Our comment.
Just a second, Agent. Just hang on for a moment.
Through you, Mr. Chair, that's an example of how to write
that's an example.
variances.
Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah,
no,
sorry.
no
fault.
problem.
Sorry. My apologies.
Okay. Very good. Let's go back to the agent now. Agent, I'm going to start the clock again. You have 5 minutes now to present your application. Please go ahead.
We are trying to build the rear yard laneway house, and then this is very minor variance, and then we've been changing as per the all the planner. And the owner actually was trying to talk to the neighbor already, but honestly, I didn't talk to the neighbor, so nothing that I can say about the complaint.
What else would you like us to know about your application? This is your chance to present your application.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Well, this is your opportunity to present your application to the panel. Is there anything else about your application that you would like us to know about what you're trying to do, or what some of the difficulties you had and how you addressed them? Anything else we should know about the application?
If you have any question, let me know.
Okay. No. Do you understand that you have 5 minutes to tell the panel about your application if you want to use it? Have you said what you want to say, or do you have anything else to add?
So I already explained about that. I think my the second story unit, the laneway house for the 2-story building is the height. There's no height issues. It's only for the front yard the rear yard setback and the landscape area. So I think this is a very minor.
Okay, very good. Okay, so you have told us what you'd like us to know. Very good. Panel members, okay, are there any other questions for the applicant at this stage? Do we think we've got clarity now on the nature of the application as amended? So let's take the application into committee for a motion, please.
Is there a speaker, Mr. Chair? I don't know why I thought that, but.
Thank you both. Whenever I happen to do that, I invite you all to remind me. I apologize again. This is important. We want to hear from the people that have registered and waited so patiently. So let's go to the registered speaker and ask that speaker to join us. Just state your name, please.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi. Good afternoon. My name is Sarah Crouch, and I am the neighbor of 471. I own the property at 469 Jones Avenue.
You're next door.
Sorry?
You are next door.
Next door, yes.
You have 5 minutes to tell the panel about your concerns. Go ahead.
Yes, I don't have a concern with the laneways house overall. My main concern was with the windows on the west side, so the ones that face the house. Our houses are very close together, but I didn't know if that was going to be a concern now that they're angling the roof. But there's 2 windows there that would overlook my backyard and look right into my house. So I'm just concerned about those the 2nd story windows in particular. wondering if it could be switched to a skylight or even frosted.
Is that is the rear wall, is that correct? Sarah?
Sorry?
Is that the rear wall or the side wall?
I guess it's the rear wall of the laneway house, but it's the wall that faces the house, the main house.
Thank you, okay. Anything else you'd like to say to the committee?
No, that's my main concern. It's just, we are also building a laneway suite. It's a lot lower. So I'm not opposed to laneway suites. It's just this one is going to very much overlook our property. And I think that was probably part of the concern with the neighbor on the other side as well.
Okay, fine. Panel members, questions for this speaker? Hearing none, we shall then go back to the applicant. Opportunity to comment in rebuttal on the concern about height and window overlook. Applicant?
Yeah, the plan has been changed. Actually, the window area is part of the angular, part of the roof. So it's not on the wall. It's angular wall. It's in the roof. So I don't think it's the matter of the overlook. And then it's above 5 feet high. It's really high window.
I'm not sure I understand you.
If you look at the north side elevation, or yeah.
Okay.
So,
so those windows are on the, they are on the 40, or they're on the angle.
Yes, that's right.
Thank you. That helps. That helps. I see. Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to say? Okay, panel members, any questions now for the agent? No, hearing none. We can take the application then into committee for comments or a motion. Ms. Hayes, go ahead. Go ahead, Ms. Hayes.
Thank you. The changes that have been made by the applicant with respect to the elimination of the angular plane variance, the improvement of the rear yard setback variance, the elimination of the variance related to setback from center of the lane, all improve the application. The landscape variance is something that we run into quite a bit, and I think that actually some of the new recommendations that have gone to City Council with respect to reviewing the laneway suites bylaw and experiences to date, that landscaping situation is something that I think the city is revisiting because of the concerns that have been raised in the ability to meet that. Having said all that, I would be prepared to approve this application subject to the condition that planning had noted that they would like it tied to the plans dated January 6th.
Thank you. Is there a second to that motion? Mr. Chang. Moved and seconded to so approve. Those in favor, show of hands, please. And that is a unanimous vote to carry the motion and approve the application. On application number 29, 110 George Street South, the committee has before it submitted materials, cover letter from the property manager, a Committee of Adjustment decision from 2000. A site-specific bylaw from 1998 from the OMB. And email correspondence from Transportation received for January.
Through you, Mr. Chair, staff have also received a very late support letter from 112 George Street South.
Thank you. Letter in support, 112 George Street. Thank you. Okay, I'm going. We do have one registered speaker here, but we're not sure that that speaker is in opposition, in support, or in interest. Is that correct? Okay. All right then. Well, let's go ahead then, and we'll ask the agent to join us, please.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, my name is John Gwizdowski. I'm the representative for the Client Market View Housing Committee, and I'm also the architect representing them for the project located at 110 George Street South in Toronto.
Very good. Thank you, John. Just stand by for a moment, please. And moderator, I'm going to ask you to unmute the speaker who's standing by, Mr. Iman Saleh. Salah?
Hi, this is Iman. I am a member of the building. I don't know if I can be heard at the moment.
Yes, you can be. You're being heard clearly. Yes, thank you.
I'm just here to observe. These are not plans that I've seen before. Just, so the architect, I don't know if they're a registered speaker, but I'd like to hear from them. And then if I have any objections or anything I'd like to say, I'd like to speak after that, if that's okay.
Fine, then, okay. In that case, let's go back to the agent. And John, you have 5 minutes to present the highlights of your proposal to the panel. Go ahead, please.
Hi. Yes. What the situation is that the fire department requested an existing bicycle storage room in the basement, get a building permit, which we attempted to do, and we've made changes based on the building department as requested. And the only issues they found was reference to the City of Toronto bylaw number 273, 1998 OMB 1, 2, and 2. And it's just the parking count, the existing parking count. We are requesting to reduce 3 parking spots, and this would be adequate for the permit for the bicycle storage room, which is a good idea, to have less cars and more bicycles in the City of Toronto. I think in general, though, this should probably be a policy for any existing building to apply automatically.
And have you had, John, or has the building management, has there been pressure from bicycle owners saying, hey, we need more space?
Yeah, yes, and they don't want to lose the space, and the fire department has been pressuring everybody, the City of Toronto Fire Department. And it would be nice if we just had a universal policy in Toronto to just say, hey, bicycle storage rooms is a good thing, not a bad thing.
Okay, well, we're not going to get to that this afternoon in this hearing, but we do have 2 variances to consider. And so I'll ask you to stand by now, and we'll just check back with Iman Saleh to see what her thoughts are at this stage.
Thank
Yep.
you so much. So my concern is, it says that there is a bicycle room that I see here on the documentation, the existing bicycle room, and then I see a storage room that's being proposed to remove the partition, and in order to add on, take away 3 parking spots. Is the parking spots currently in occupants, or are they unoccupied parking spaces? And if that's the case, if they're already occupied, we have a shortage of parking spaces in the building and a very long waiting list. So that's my main concern.
Okay, and let me ask you, because you know about this too. Do you have kind of tension between bicycle parking and automotive parking? Both of them saying there's not enough?
Oh, sorry, I didn't catch the full question.
Okay, so within the building, as a board member, have you heard that any discussion from bicycle owners? Is there discussion to the effect that both bicycle owners and automobile owners are both saying, "Hey, we need more parking"?
From my understanding, this discussion hasn't been had. In order for us to kind of fully gauge the scope of what's being done, I think it has to be approved by our GMM. So we need our GMM to approve this, and that hasn't been done. Because we haven't seen the proposal of all of this information that I'm seeing now. We've never seen that before. So that needs to go to our GMM first.
Your GMM, could you tell me what that stands for, please?
So, and also the fire department didn't request a bike room. Their concern was about a closed storage room for garbage. That was the concern.
Okay. What is your GMM? Do I have it right?
That's our general members meeting.
General members meeting. Okay. Very good.
Yes, which
okay.
is happening usually around February.
Okay. That's an annual general meeting, is it?
Yes,
Okay.
because this is a cooperative building and it also is operated by the members, and the members do get a say in what's happening in the building. And all this information has not been presented to the GMM.
Mm-hmm.
So it needs to go to our general meeting.
Let's see what the agent has to say.
And just to clarify, sorry to interrupt you, we already have 2 biking places. So this is in regards to a storage room that is going to be enclosed for garbage.
Thank you. Okay, we'll now go back to the agent. And
Previous person.
And agent, this is your chance to comment in rebuttal on those.
Yes, the fire department was specifically only dealing with an existing bike room. And that's the only thing they responded to, and that's when I got involved. They requested a proper building permit drawing, which we supplied as per the fire department request. There absolutely is no garbage room request or spoken about at any time. This person is the only person I've ever heard this brought up. So we are only dealing with an existing condition, and we were trying to get a permit, and the parking spots were being used by the existing bicycle parking, and this is why we're requesting the minor variance.
Yes, so let's be clear here. The committee is dealing with 2 minor variances. I don't see us dealing with any minor variance that relates to a storage room. We're dealing with 2 minor variances with respect to parking space numbers. And
that's correct.
And the thrust is to reduce by 3 in order to have more bicycle parking. That's what I think the committee is, that's what the committee, I believe, thinks we're being asked to decide on here. These 2 minor variances regarding reducing the number of parking spaces. But would you address this question, please, raised by Imam Saleh with respect to this kind of thing needing to go through the general membership meeting?
I was not told that there was any concerns by anybody in the building about this. I just assume that if there is a general committee, that they were communicating. I'm not sure if there was something posted. There may have been something posted in the building, and maybe she was not aware of it.
Okay, panel members, any questions for the applicant? Ms. Valentini, go ahead.
So have people lost their parking spaces? Like, you know, are these surplus parking spaces? It doesn't sound like it from what the.
No, these spots have been used just for bicycle storage for many years now, and it's just the fire department wanting it to be a legalized permit, and that's what we applied for. And
So how long is the bike? So it says new storage and bicycle room. So how long has the storage / bicycle room been in place?
well, when it was there when I was asked to talk to them, I think the process with the fire department was more than a year.
Okay, so that's not many years ago, but it's just
no,
sort of in the last year.
I'm just talking about the fire department. I believe it's always been there. That was my impression. So I could find out
Trying to figure out if people are losing parking spaces and there's a long list of people waiting for parking. That's all. I don't know.
I think it's been there for quite some time, and it was fairly rusty looking, so it kind of looked like it's been there several years, but I don't have the exact number.
Okay.
The custodian might know.
All right, I do have a question for you, John, then my associate colleague, Ms. Hayes, has another one for you. So right now, from what I'm gathering as I listen, is that there is a metal cage that is constructed on these 3 spots that is being used for bicycle storage today on the same 3 spots that we're talking about. And
exactly.
They're not being used for cars right now. Nobody's going to lose their car parking.
Nobody's using it for cars, for automobiles. It's just for bicycles.
Okay, thank you.
And we just want to legalize it.
Ms. Hayes, your question, please.
That was basically my question. So in reality, what is there now wasn't permitted, and you're really looking to legalize that, and to do that, you have to formally reduce the number of parking spaces.
Exactly. It's a formality, basically.
Thank you.
Okay. Panel members, any further questions of the applicant before we go into committee? Then let's take the application into committee for comments. Ms. Hayes, go ahead.
Given the submissions of the agent for the applicant that the parking spaces for which a reduction is being sought have not ever been used for parking and have been used for the alternative use, and they are now looking to formalize that use and therefore need to adjust the parking spaces that have never been used as parking spaces, I would be prepared to support this application, and I don't believe there are any conditions.
Motion to approve. Is there a second to that? There is a second. Mr. Cheng. So, moved and seconded to approve. Those in favor, show of hands, please. And that motion does receive a unanimous vote. The motion is carried. The application is approved. Number 30 is 395 Montrose Ave. We've got the submitted materials. There's a cover letter from the agent, 31 December, and there is a 2008 Committee of Adjustment decision attached, which affected the subject property. We'll ask the agent to join us. Please just state your name.
Hi there, I'm Deborah Mesher. I'm the designer and agent of this application. I live at 198 Melita Avenue in Toronto.
Good afternoon to you. Okay. All right, colleagues on the panel, any questions for the agent or request for a presentation? Deborah, is there one thing that you would like to convey that's important about your application to the panel? Any single thing that stands out?
Well, yeah, thank you for the question. No, nothing stands out. I mean, the 2008 decision application I wasn't involved in. That was a former owner of the house as well, and who had developed the house to be longer and denser and sort of higher density. So the only way we can develop it further to meet the needs of the current homeowners is to really build up. So to get that third floor up there. So that's where their density is coming from. And then conversely, the second variance, which is the wall height, that 9.95 meter wall height. So yeah, I think it's otherwise a pretty straightforward application. There's no landscaping, there's no trees affected. There's very little impact anywhere.
Thank you very much. Okay. Okay then. I think we can take this application into committee. And panel comments or a motion, please. Ms. Hayes, go ahead.
Sure, I'll start reviewing all the materials on file and looking at the neighborhood context. I don't think what is being requested here results in a structure that is out of character. The FSI is not unrepresentative of other new builds or renovations in the area. The third floor is set back at both the front and the rear. So the side wall height and the impact of that and the massing of that, I believe, is sufficiently minimized. And I would like to move a motion to approve the application with no conditions if my colleagues have no further comment.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to second that motion? Mr. Solomon seconds. Moved and seconded to approve without condition. Those in favor, show of hands, please. Unanimous vote to carry the motion. So that application is approved. Thanks very much. "66 Winona Drive" is our item number 31. We have applicant materials before us, and there are 8 form letters in support, signed by owners and occupants: 44, 60, 64, 68, 70, 72, 74 Winona, and 243 Tyrrell Avenue. So we shall ask the agent to join us, please, by stating your name.
Good afternoon, committee. My name is Brian Abbey. I am the agent for the owners of 66 Winona. And I would like to present this application for enclosing the front porch. I think this application is very similar to the one that you reviewed earlier at 109 Riverdale. It's an existing porch that we're enclosing, and we're adding new steps at the front of it. And that basically is how simple it is. But I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Brian. Let's see if there are any from the panel. Any questions, panel? Ms. Hayes? Yeah. Ms. Hayes?
Just one quick question. I just couldn't find it in the plans, but I may have missed it. What's the existing FSI?
Oh, yeah, I did do that calculation. So that the existing house is actually 199.53. So it's only an extra 4.6% is what we're adding on, which is another 9 square meters.
Thank you. I assumed that you were already over because if it was only enclosing the front porch, I thought, okay, how much of an addition could that be? But I couldn't find the number on the plan, so thank you very much.
It was way over. It was originally, in actual fact, it says 1 times the lot, but if you actually do the true calculation, it's 99.52%. And the original was 94.83, so we're only 4.69% over.
Thank you. I just thought it's important to just put it on the record because on paper it looks very
It looks
large.
worse, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions, panel? If not, we'll take it into committee for a motion, please. Mr. Solomon, go ahead.
I think the variances are very minor in nature. As was indicated, the existing FSI already exceeds the zoning limit, and the proposed enclosure of the front porch is very small. So I would move approval of the variances.
Thank you.
With no conditions.
Thank you. Seconded by Ms. Valentini. It is moved and seconded to approve. Members in favor, show of hands, please. Unanimous vote to carry the motion. And that is approved. Thanks very much. $32.78 Brookside Drive, on which application the panel is looking at applicant materials, a staff report from Urban Forestry, and 8 form letters in support from the following addresses on Brookside: 5911, 1523, 76, 80, and 82. So we'll ask the agent to join us, please. Just state your name.
Good afternoon, committee. My name is Joseph Sayateki from Strata Design and Development Incorporated. I'm representing my clients as the agent at 78 Brookside.
Thank you very much. Okay. Panel members on 78 Brookside, are there any questions you've got for the agent? No? Joseph, is there any one thing that you'd like to convey to the panel about your application?
I think it's pretty straightforward. My clients have done quite a great job of communicating the project to all the adjacent neighbors, as evidenced in the letters of support. In regards to the front yard porch enclosure, we're reflecting the existing porch footprint that's there right now. We are seeking some relief with the front yard softscaping, but we are maintaining the existing softscaping area that's already present right now. So we were at 51% before, we're going to be at 51% now.
Thank you very much. Okay. Okay. I think we can take the application into panel then. Unless there are questions, Ms. Valentini, go ahead.
Thank you. I looked at the materials. I thought they were very well done, and looked at the site stats. I did note that the current FSI of the property is below what is permitted. It's at 51%, which is, I think, equates to, I noted, just over 1,100 square feet. So it is existing. It's quite a small house. I by no means think this addition is, too large for the neighborhood. I think it is a modest size addition, and I think it's nice that they've got support from neighbors on either side. So the neighbors are on board. They consulted with the neighbors and got other letters of support as well. On that basis, I'm prepared to support the application, and I'd like to bring forward a motion for approval. I think it meets the 4 tests, and it would be subject to urban forestry condition number 2.
Second to that motion? There is, Mr. Solomon. Yeah. So moved and seconded to approve, subject to forestry. Those in favor? Motion is carried, unanimous vote. The application is approved. Thank you. And that takes the panel along to number 33, 222 Rhodes Avenue. And on 222 Rhodes, the materials that we're dealing with are those submitted by the applicant. There are supporting materials involving comparable projects on Rhodes Avenue from September. There's a cover letter from the agent from September. There is a previous Committee of Adjustment decision from 2019. And there are 3 letters in support, 218, 220, and 226. Rhodes Ave, all signed form letters supporting. Okay, so we'll ask the agent please to join us.
Hello? Can you hear
Hello.
me?
Yes, state your name, please.
It's Alec Ring. I'm the architect on the project and the agent for the owners at 222 Rhodes. And Brian Porter is also on the call, who's the client and owner of the property.
He's the owner. Okay, very good. Okay, fine. Thank you very much. We'll just check with the panel members. Anything, panel, you'd like to ask the agent or the owner? Well, I'll ask you, agent, is there any one thing in particular you'd like the panel to be aware of as they consider the application?
I don't think so. I think it's a pretty straightforward application and is in keeping with previous approvals in the neighborhood, as well as sensitive to the neighbors, and the neighbors support it as well. So
Okay,
I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys may have.
Yes, I don't believe there are any, and so we will at this point take the application into committee for a decision, and or comments by the panel members or a motion. Ms. Hayes, go ahead, please.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the applicant for the presentation materials. It certainly allowed us to have a clear view of what's being proposed. I think that what is being proposed and the variances being requested meet the 4 tests. I believe they're minor. Believe it would set in with other redevelopment proposals in the area. I like that the rear balcony is tucked in behind the walls, that addresses some of the concerns that we often hear with respect to privacy and overlook. And I would like to move a motion to approve the application subject to forestry condition number 2.
Thank you very much. Anyone to second that motion? It is seconded, Ms. Valentini. So moved and seconded to approve, subject to forestry. Those in favor, show of hands, please. And we do have a unanimous vote to carry the motion and approve the application. Thank you. So that completes that segment of applications. Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, I think we'll take a brief recess now for about 10 minutes till 4:05 and come back with the 3:30 segment at that time.
Sure, that's fine.
Okay, so we'll be coming back for the 3:30 segment at 4:05. Till then, so it's a 10-minute recess now, panel members. Thank you.
We seem to have a real echo today.
Agreed. I don't know what the issue is, but it's quite hard to hear sometimes.
Well, you hear yourself twice.
Yes, I know. It's very distracting.
Okay, so panel members, maybe they can't hear me. We resume. And we shall be resuming with item number 34, 191 Ashdale Ave. Now, on this application, there is a request to defer by the applicant. So, moderator, let me ask you. On item number 34, 191 Ashdale, can you tell me how many registered speakers in opposition are standing by to speak? Okay, and they are standing by, okay. Okay then, so let's go forward then. We'll ask the agent to join us, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of committee. Can you hear me?
Yes, we do hear you clearly.
Perfect, thank you very much. My name is TJ Sakura, and I am the principal and a planner with Design Plan Services here on behalf of the landowner for 191 Ashdale.
Very good. If you could, Mr. Sakura, if you could explain to the panel, please, the rationale behind your request to defer.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. And I would also like to indicate that the staff report from Community Planning dated September 7th has also requested this application be deferred. However, it does note that we had discussions with planning and they also are aware of our deferral request. The main rationale is because we only became aware of planning department concerns on January 7th, which was approximately 5 days ago. We are trying to engage planning in discussions, but the planner who wrote the report is no longer in that position, and therefore we are faced with trying to find out who we are dealing with and resolving any planning. Therefore, we're requesting a deferral so that we can have these discussions with planning and possibly have discussions with any of the objecting parties, and then we will consider modifications to the application and then come back in front of this committee once that has been sorted out.
Thank you very much. Okay, so Just for everyone's interest who has an interest in this application, the actual decision of whether or not to defer will be made by the Committee of Adjustment today. But we do want to get input on that to inform that decision. So we do have 3 registered speakers standing by who've been patiently waiting, perhaps for some time, for their chance to speak. So I'm going to go to them now in order and speak to each one briefly. And what I'll be asking you is whether, in your view, we should continue now and hear the application as it stands before us and make a decision on it, one way or the other, today, or whether you agree with this concept of deferring it in order to allow the owner and the agent to have discussions both with the planning department and those who are in opposition to the development as a way of refining or revising the application. So I won't be getting into the meat of your concern or your opposition. What I'll be asking you is, are you in favor of or opposed to deferral? Let's go now to the first registered speaker, please. And ask that speaker to join us by stating your name.
Mr. Kevin Wall, you've been unmuted.
Hi, I've been.
Hello? Kevin?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, you're with us. Very good. Kevin.
Hi, thanks. I don't know that I think that.
Kevin? Yeah.
Hello?
I've got to tell you, Kevin, I'm going to go back to the moderator and see if he can work this out with you. You're not coming across clearly. We can hear you, but it's very, very difficult to make out. Moderator, can you help us there?
Hi, Mr. Wall. We're going to give you a call.
Sure, thanks. Hello?
Hello? Hello?
Hi, is that better?
Now we've got you.
Great. Sorry, the only question I had, I suppose, is if there is a deferral, will any interested parties have another opportunity to object or provide input before the next meeting?
Kevin, could you turn off the volume on your computer? There's a feedback.
Okay, Kevin, we got your question, but of course we're getting. Stanley, maybe we'll go on to the next speaker, and we can come back to Kevin. Kevin, if you can hear me now, I think I can answer your question. And the answer to your question, would there be a chance for objectors to speak again? And the answer is absolutely yes. There would be a full chance to register and to speak if there was a deferral granted. I'm going to go on to the next registered speaker now. And ask that person to state their name and join us, please.
Oh, hi. My name is Karen Knopf. I live at 193 Ashdale Avenue, so I'm immediately north of the subject property, and I very much object to the variances, primarily the mass.
Okay, Karen, Karen, just a moment, please. So I have one question for you right now that's very important. So you've probably been listening and heard that there is a request to defer the application to a subsequent committee meeting in order to allow it to be revised pending consultation with city planning and also with those that are in opposition to it.
Sorry, yes, I'm sorry. I should speak to the question.
So my question to you is,
assuming that Brian and his agent will, talk to us and take some of our concerns, primarily around, as we've stated, into, account, and there's a fuller process. I think over the holidays we were all otherwise focused. I would be in favor of the deferral. The planning department has been quite clear, I think. I'm not so sure about the tree department. I'd want to know if it's my red oak, but I would be, I think, in favor of the deferral. But I say that with really no experience with this process.
Okay,
this is my first time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for your involvement, and that helps us to inform our decision. The panel itself will be deciding whether to defer or not. Let's go on to the next speaker, Peter Bird, if he's with us.
Hi, good afternoon. Yeah, I also live at 193 Ashdale. Karen is my wife.
Yep.
I've got no problem with the deferral request. Again, I'm assuming that the applicant, Brian, will be coming back with a plan that responds to some of our concerns in some way or another. So I'm happy to wait and see what that further plan is.
Thank you very much for that. Okay. Let's go back and see if we can reconnect with the first speaker with whom we had technical difficulties. Has that been possible?
Hi, I'm fine.
Hello, Kevin?
Hi, I'm okay with the deferral.
You okay with deferral? Thank you very much for that. Okay. Now, we can go to the panel. So panel, you've heard the answers there from those speakers that were standing by. So there is a request to defer here. Let's take it into committee and for comments or a motion. Any comments on this deferral request? Ms. Hayes, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Having read all the materials in advance of the planning report and the submissions of the applicant here, I believe it would be prudent to defer the application to allow the applicant to consider, I'm going to try to beat the echo, sorry, to consider the submissions of plan, understand their comments, speak to the neighbors, and potentially come back with an application that is more clear, and everyone will know what position they'll have on that application. So I would move a motion to defer the application.
Thank you for that. Does anyone second that motion? It is seconded by Mr. Cheng. So moved and seconded to defer the application. Those in favor, show of hands, please. And that motion is carried by unanimous vote, so the application is deferred. Thank you. That moves the panel on to item number 35, 20 Admiral Road. And on number 35, the committee has before it submitted materials, agent's cover letter, September 15, arborist report, September 15, presentation material from agent, January 5, staff report, urban forestry, January the 5th, and 5 form letters in support from 19, 25, and 50, and 14 and 21 Admiral Road. Okay. We shall ask the agent to join us, please, by stating your name.
Good afternoon. My name is Tyler Peck from W&D Associates, and we're the applicant and planners for 20 Admiral Road.
Good afternoon. Okay. All right, I'm just going to, there are no persons registered to speak in opposition here, so panel members, questions for the applicant? Would you like a presentation? I have a question for the applicant, and it's simply this. In your application, you make reference several times to the coach house, and it's my understanding that the coach house is not serviced by a laneway, like a common laneway at the rear of a block. So it's not a garden suite, it is a coach house. Would it be the equivalent of what might also be called a garden suite?
Thanks for the question, Mr. Chair. No, it's not a garden suite in that it does not contain kitchen facilities in the ancillary building. It's an ancillary building as defined by the bylaw.
Okay. May I ask you a further question there? Does it have plumbing?
Yes, the coach house will be serviced by bathrooms.
Okay. Very good. All right. Panel members, Mr. Solomon, go ahead.
Yeah, I had a question about variance number 5, which is the GFA for the coach house. I just wanted to clarify what's the extent of the additional floor space for the coach house?
Thank you for the question. The additional floor space, the renovation to the existing coach house is all within the existing footprint setbacks and building height. The reason why there is a small increase in the GFA of the existing building, GFA, yes, of the existing building in comparison to the existing is just the width of the proposed dormer on the second floor. It increases the GFA by a small amount. I'm looking up the numbers. It's an additional 1.91 square meters above what the current GFA, or actually interior floor area of the ancillary building is. It's a very minor increase, and the variance is related almost predominantly, as are largely the other variances, to existing conditions on the lot. Just also like to point out that we do have a confirmation of no objection from the direct neighbor to the south at 16 Admiral Road as well. That's assisting the committee, and I'm aware of the urban forestry condition number 2 and have no objection to the application of that through an approval as well.
Are there any other things that you'd like to convey to the panel? Any other important single items that you want to convey?
I think simply a summary that this is a sensitively designed rear addition and third floor addition to the house, that the second floor, the 2-floor rear addition has been designed to optimize views away from the neighbor to the north. The third floor is actually a reduction in the building depth of the third floor, and the rear wall height is under the existing building height. And that, as demonstrated on the variance diagrams, the variances are largely related to existing conditions on the site, and taken together, they meet the 4 tests of the Planning Act with respect to general intent and purpose of the OP zoning bylaw, presents a desirable development of the land to upgrade the existing house and coach house, and are minor in nature when impacts are taken into consideration.
Thanks very much for that. Okay. Okay, panel. Any further questions, or let's take it into committee then? Comments or a motion? Ms. Valentini, please go ahead.
Thank you. I think the presentation materials were extremely well done. Sorry, there's an echo. It's distracting. And I think just looking at the elevations that were prepared that compare the existing structure to what is proposed were extremely helpful. As the agent has already pointed out, a lot of the variances are for existing conditions, and in fact, there's some improvement to the built form in terms of the third floor, and specifically, it's not as deep as it once was. I'm in support of the application. I think it is sensitively designed in terms of minimizing impact on neighbors, and it is extremely similar in nature to what's already existing. I don't know if my colleagues have any other comments. Okay, in my view, I think this meets the 4 tests, so I'd like to bring a motion forward for approval and that it be subject to urban forestry condition number 2.
Thank you. Second to that, Ms. Hayes seconds. So moved and seconded to approve subject to forestry. Those in favor? And the motion is carried. The application is so approved. Thank you. And just for the panel members' info, here in the committee room, we're not hearing the echo. I get the impression that the panel members are all hearing the echo, so sorry about that. We're not hearing it here. I don't know whether people on YouTube are hearing it or not. But I'm sorry that it is providing distraction for you. Okay, number 36. 184 WOODYCREST Ave. Before the panel are submitted materials. 2 photographs from the agent, December 24th. 11 photographs in addition, 24 December. Covering letter from 24 December from the agent. Staff report, urban forestry, and a petition carrying 19 signatures from the 24th of December from owners and occupants of addresses on WOODYCREST, Mortimer, and Westwood Avenue. Okay, so on this application, we shall ask the agent to join us now. Please just state your name.
Good afternoon. I'm Sunny Gervin. I'm the agent and designer for the proposal.
Good afternoon to you. Okay, let's check with the panel. Panel, any requests here for a full presentation? Any questions right off the bat? No? So, question, Ms. Hayes, go ahead.
Just one question with respect to lot coverage. I know the existing is already at 38.95. The 47% being requested, can you point out, was that lot coverage, is that characteristic of lot coverage on that street?
Thank you for your question. It is. On variance number 2 in the cover letter, I provided 4 local addresses, 3 which are on WOODYCREST Ave, that have a 47% coverage and higher. So it's typical, I think, of this street where the lots are not as deep and perhaps even more narrow than one would expect. The side yards are all very small on many of the places. So it's a very typical situation where the existing houses are already over coverage.
Thank you. I did read that. I don't know why I didn't make a note of it. But thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anything else, Sunny? Any other major points that you'd like us to have before we make our decision?
I think I just wanted to express my thanks to you, all of you, given the considerable difficulties of our time, for the work that you do. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that. Okay. If there are no further questions, we can take the application into committee for comments or for a motion. Let's go into committee now. Mr. Salomon, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I think the variances are minor in nature. The lot coverage variance of 47% is appropriate, I believe, given the nature of the small size of this lot. And there are a few other lots on the street with similar coverages based on the information provided by the applicant. So I would move approval subject to urban forestry condition number 2.
Thank you. Second. Second to that? It is seconded, Ms. Hayes. So moved and seconded to approve, subject to forestry. Members in favor, show of hands. That motion does receive a unanimous vote. The application is approved. '68 Brookfield Street, number 37. Before the panel on this application are applicant materials, a staff report from Urban Forestry, and correspondence in opposition from 66 Brookfield Street. Jim Campbell, and would appear that is the house or the property next door to the subject property. So let's ask the agent to join us, please. Just state your name, agent.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. It's Barry Goldman speaking. I am the agent and the architect for this proposal. I'll begin by saying, if I may, I had the opportunity to speak to Jim, the adjacent neighbor. His concerns were primarily to do with how it was to be constructed, not anything in particular to do with the variances that we were seeking. And I was able to put him at ease. He didn't give me anything in writing, but I am prepared to say for the record that we did speak. And at the end of our conversation, he indicated to me he was no longer concerned with the proposal. With that, I'll suggest that the variances we're seeking are minor, meet the 4 tests. I'm happy to give a presentation if you like, or answer any questions if you have.
Thank you very much. Would we like a presentation panel, or do you have questions to put to the agent? Mr. Salomon, go ahead, please.
My question related to the depth of the development and its relation to the buildings on either adjacent properties. I thought that they were of a similar depth of building, but if you can just clarify that, please.
Yes, thank you. So it will be less deep than the neighbor to the north in number 70 Brookfield on my site plan. And it will line up pretty much exactly with the existing deck at number 66 Brookfield. That neighbor had suggested he's contemplating constructing an addition to where his deck is, so he had no issue with the addition going to that line.
Thank you.
Okay. If no further questions, let's go into committee on this application. And we can have comment if there's any, or a motion, please. Ms. Valentini, go ahead.
Thank you. Typically, when I see townhouses or 2-story houses, when there's a 3rd floor added to one side and not the other, sometimes it raises concerns. But I think in this case, it's been more sensitively designed. The 3rd floor is well stepped back to the rear of the property, and they've maintained the sloped roof at the front, so I think it blends in nicely. So from a streets perspective, I don't think there's going to be any sort of jarring impact in terms of a big change in terms of the front facades. As well, I don't find the addition in terms of, I'm satisfied with what Mr. Goldman had said about the depth of the addition in relation to the two neighbors, and it sounds like he has spoken to the neighbor who's written in an objection and has hopefully satisfied some of the concerns, or spoke to one of the neighbors. I'm in support of the application. I think that it is, it is adding square footage, but I think, as I said, it's more sensitively designed, particularly with respect to the third floor. So I'd like to bring forward a motion, unless anybody else wants to have any say in terms of comments. No, motion for approval. It meets the 4 tests in my view, and it would be subject to urban forestry condition. Oh, I don't have that written down. Sorry, number 2. Thank you.
Thank you. Second to that is Mr. Solomon.
Yeah, and I wanted to clarify, was this subject to heritage planning? Was there something recent that came in the supplementary that they might have a condition? Or am I mixing up the properties?
As far as I know, and as far as staff knows, no.
Okay.
Nope.
I think that's for item 39. The heritage memo is for 2 items. Yeah, 39.
Okay. So, Mr. Solomon, are you seconding this motion? You are seconding. Okay.
Yes, I am.
It is moved and seconded to approve the application. Members, show of hands, please. In favor? Motion carried by unanimous votes and the application approved. Number 38, Highfield. Sorry, item number 38, 341 Highfield Road. It comes before us with not much in the way of materials. There is the applicant's submission, and there's a staff report from forestry. And those are the only materials we are dealing with. So, let's go to the agent and ask the agent to join the meeting, please.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Joel Gerber, the architect representing the client for Highfield.
Great. Good afternoon. Okay. Panel members, any question on this one? No. Joel, is there any one thing we should know that you'd like to convey to us about your application?
No, I mean, in our opinion, it's quite straightforward. The original objective to replace in kind was changed slightly, causing the variances to the zoning, and that it's quite self-explanatory in that regard.
Okay, thank you. Very good. I guess there are no questions, no request for presentation. We can take it into committee, and I'll look to someone on the panel for a motion, please. Ms. Hayes, please go ahead.
Thank you. I think this is rather straightforward. It's not uncharacteristic of the neighborhood. It's constructing a front porch with a deck above. The variances are indeed minor. I'd like to move a motion to approve the application subject to forestry condition number 1.
Thank you. Second to that motion. It is seconded, Mr. Cheng. Moved and seconded to approve. Members in favor, show of hands, please. Motion carried, unanimous vote. The application is approved.
Thank you for your time. Have a great day.
Thank you very much. And that takes us to 39, which is actually the last application in this segment. 18 Elm Avenue. Here we have before us applicant materials, 12 photographs of the subject property, a 2012 Committee of Adjustment decision that affected the property. There's a tree inventory from Jack Radicke, arborist, and there's a staff report from Urban Forestry, and also from Heritage Preservation. So, we shall ask the agent to join us. And we'll ask the agent to join us first, please, by stating your name.
Yes, my name is Tony Doctor. There's a terrible echo. I believe that Jane Pepino, the owner's lawyer, is also speaking, that she'll be making the presentation.
Okay, agent, I'm going to ask you to hang on for a minute or so, and we do have a serious echo problem, technical issue here. We'll see if they have any suggestions to you to try to reduce or eliminate that.
Hi, Tony. You might have your laptop volume playing in the background, or I don't know which one you're speaking out of, but could you turn one of them down or mute it? We have some feedback.
Jane?
It's still happening.
Try Jane Pepino.
Okay, he's saying try the next person who is their solicitor, Jane Pepino. Why don't we do that?
Hi, Ms. Pepino. You've been unmuted. Ms. Pepino, try unmuting yourself.
Hello?
Hello.
Can I be heard now, sir?
You are now loud and clear. Yes.
Oh, it's a miracle.
Well, we'll take it. So, in that we weren't able to establish clear connection with the agent, he suggested we speak with you. So, are you going to speak on behalf of this application?
I am. I registered to do so last week, sir.
Very good. I see you on the list here. Very good. Okay. So, panel members, on this application, do we have any questions for the agent? Any request for a presentation? No. Okay. I'll just ask you then, Jane, is there any single important thing that stands out that the panel, you might want to convey to the panel at this stage? We're not asking for a we're not asking for a presentation, but I'm wondering if there's anything that in your mind stands out that we should know.
Thank you. Only to say that, as you've noted from the review of the materials, this is entirely with respect to existing conditions. It's not enlarging the building in any way other than to extend up the rear of the first floor, but it is intended to upgrade a building which will contain 4 rental units and reconfigure them in a way which is more appropriate, allowing one to have a full kitchen, for example, and also simply to upgrade a building that has served as a rental property since the mid-50s.
Very good. Thank you. Okay. Panel members, with that, let's take the application into committee for comments, if any, and a motion, please. Ms. Hayes, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I found all the materials submitted by the applicant very helpful in terms of isolating and finding out exactly the portion of the building that the variances were necessitated. As stated, this building's been there a long time. It's certainly a not out of character with anything else in the neighborhood. The number of platforms being requested, again, is not unprecedented in the neighborhood. I think that the number of units has existed. They're not changing that, so the interior floor area variance does not cause me any concern. Most of these issues are existing conditions or slight variations of existing conditions, which would not change the impact at all. I am certainly satisfied that the variances meet the 4 tests under the Planning Act. I would like to move a motion to approve the application subject to forestry condition number 2 and the condition from heritage preservation.
Thank you. Is there a second? Ms. Valentini seconds the motion. So moved and seconded to approve subject to forestry and heritage preservation. All those in favor, show of hands, please. And that is a unanimous vote, which carries the motion, and the application is thereby approved. Thanks.
Hi, Mr. Chair. It's Aaron. Hi. I have to leave for about 30 minutes, and if we are still continuing, I'll be back and show up. And if not, I'll say goodbye to everyone now. See you in a bit.
My thought, Aaron, is we'll still be here, so do come back. We'll see you in 30 minutes. Okay, very good. Now that completes the next that particular segment. We're now on to what is either the officially called the 4:30 or 4 o'clock segment. I'm not. It shows as anyway. It's the next segment. It begins on number 40, and we're going to carry on right into it. Number 40 is 176 Kenilworth Ave. And on this application, the panel has before it material submitted by the applicant, copy draft plan of survey, an arborist report from July 2021, Greenprint Consulting Arborists. There are staff reports from Engineering and Construction and Urban Forestry. There is correspondence in opposition from 172 Kenilworth and co-signed by owners and occupants of 18 properties on Kenilworth Ave and Elmer Avenue, received by the committee on the 6th of January. So, let's ask the agent to join us. Please state your name, agent.
Hi, Mr. Mastrandia. You've been unmuted. Hi, sir. You might want to try unmuting yourself.
Hello?
Hello.
Yes, hi.
Could you state your name, please?
My name's Leo Mastandre. I'm the agent for the owners at 176 Kenilworth.
Very good. You'll have 5 minutes to present your application to the panel. Starting now, please go ahead.
Yes, so we submitted a letter of support from the neighbor on the north side. We we spoke to planning and we made some adjustments, and they're satisfied with what we presented here today. And I supporting material package. Our variances are consistent with what's been approved and the built form on the street. And I submitted decisions that were approved by the committee. So page 1 shows the building height from 7.5 to 10.29, and we're only asking for 9.38. Page, if you move to page 3, 120 Kenilworth has a building depth of 19.99, where we're only at 18.73. And if you move forward to page, move to page number 9, they have also a building height main wall from 7.5 to 10.58, where we're asking for 9.38. They also have a building depth of 24.33, and we're asking for 18.73. Their GFA is 82%, where we're only asking for 75%. And in addition, if you go to the next
Mr.
page,
Chair, can I just interrupt for just a second? I don't have any of this material. Did it just get filed today?
yeah, we submitted it late. I was away on vacation, so we submitted it.
Okay, with respect to the decisions that you're just going through now, I'm sorry to ask you this, but could you please start from where you started and go a little more slowly, because we haven't seen any of this, so I just want to make sure I'm following along properly.
Okay,
please and thank
fair
you.
enough. So if we go back to page 1, variance number 3, main wall height from 7.5 to 10.29 was approved. We're asking for 9.38, which is almost a meter less. If we go to page number 3.
Sorry, can I just stop there, because I'm looking at one of the that number 3 variance, and I have it showing at proposed 9.72 meters. Have you reduced that down?
The question is that if you've altered any of your
grade, one's 9.38. If we go to page number 3, they have a building depth of 19.99, variance number 1.
Just a moment, please. This is the
And
chair.
we are
This is the
asking
chair.
for-
Just a moment, please. There was a question to you, and I don't think there's been an answer yet. This question appeared to relate to one of the minor variances, which appeared to not be consistent with what the notice reads. So could you repeat the question, please, panel member, Mr. Solomon?
Yeah, my question was, I think only one of the lots, the variance for height is 9.3, but I believe for the other lot, you're proposing 9.72.
Yes, correct. Because the houses are identical, but because the average grade is different, it has about an extra foot on that. So 9.72, you are correct. But still, nevertheless, it was approved. The other one, number 1, was approved at 10.29. 116 Kenilworth was approved at 10.29. And if we go to page number 3, there's a building depth of 19.99, where we're at 18.73. If we go to page number, if we go to page number 9, number 2 variances is 7.5 to 10.58, and it was approved. Sorry, 9.72 on the one and 9.38 on the other. Also, their GFA is 82%, where we're only at 75%. And if we go to the next page on number 10, they have a building depth of 23.85, where we're only asking for 18.73. In addition, if you go to page number 11, variance number 2 is main wall from 7.5 to 9.38. On one house, we have 9.38, 0.72. And also the side yard setback is consistent with what we're asking for.
Now, Mr. Mastrandea, you'll need to start to do your summary now, please.
Okay, so if we go to page number 14, it's a photo of the existing dwelling. We can quickly just go through the photos. 14, our dwelling is on the right, and you can see how high the dwelling on the left, it's 4 stories. If we go to the next page, it shows a clearer picture of the number 172 Kenilworth, which is to the south of us. If we go to the next page, that's the house beside that at 170 Kenilworth. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4 stories. If we go to page number 17, we also have 3 stories. Page number 18 has 4 stories. And page number 19 has 3 stories. So I believe our variances are consistent with what's been approved at the committee and the built form on the street.
Okay,
And
Mr. Mastrandea.
also, planning has no concerns, and in addition, we comply with the lot frontage and the lot area.
Thank you, Mr. Mastrandea. I've given you some extra time, and your time is, however, now up. So thank you very much for your presentation. We have a number of registered speakers who are standing by. So I'll go to you, moderator, to unmute the first one, please.
Hi, Mr. Tom Horn. You've been unmuted.
Hello.
Hi, Mr. Horn. Try unmuting yourself.
It was hard to hear what name you just called. Maybe that's part of the problem. I don't know.
Hi, Mr. Tom Horn. Can you please unmute yourself?
Well, did you say Tom Horn? I'm sorry, I couldn't quite hear.
Yes, Tom Horn.
Okay, my apologies. I couldn't quite hear who you had called on. I'm a resident on Elmer, number 63 Elmer. When I reviewed the submission, my concerns are the numbers of variances and not one in of itself, but just in the entirety of all the variances that are being requested, in addition to removal of the number of trees as well. So if we were to take one issue at a time, and like, you know, if there was 1 or 2, but I believe there's 14 to 17 variances being considered. And when you take them all into the totality, I believe that the structure is ultimately just too large when you put the 2 of them together on the existing lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. Any questions for the speaker panel? No. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
We do hear you quite well. Please state your name.
Hi, everyone. My name is Emma Williamson, and I'm a co-owner of 172 Kenilworth, which is directly next door to the proposed development site. I've also been nominated to speak on behalf of 20 other families in the immediate area of the proposed development, and all of us are opposed to the current plan.
You have 5 minutes. Go ahead with your presentation.
Thanks very much. So our view is that this proposal collectively is not a minor variance. I understand the agent has presented some previous decisions, but that's a bit, in our view, not entirely applicable because those requested variances were to existing dwellings or new builds, single builds on one lot. It's not really the same situation. What's happening here is lot severance and a request for 14 variances, which pertain to height, depth, floor space index, front yard setback, side yard setback, platform setback, and platform encroachment. And collectively, the severance plus variances amount to a very significant change to the property, a complete change, really. If you look at the pictures, you can see for yourselves. This is a situation where a relatively narrow lot covered in trees with a nice sized family home will be split, and two houses will basically be crammed onto it. Of huge concern for us and our immediate neighbors is that the new dwellings will be set much further back than 172 Kenilworth, that's us, and 170 Kenilworth, and will result in a long, intrusive brick wall along our backyard. This has the effect of boxing us and 170 Kenilworth in because what you can't see from the drawings is that there's already a massive 2-story high, 150-foot long retaining wall directly beside 170, so 50 feet from the proposed new dwelling to the south, that divides us from Upper Kenilworth because Upper Kenilworth is actually built on a hill. In addition, granting these significant variances is going to result in the removal of 4 healthy mature trees, including 2 massive 100-year-old Norway spruce trees that lie just over the property line to the north, so directly over the property line between us and the proposed new build. And my understanding is that Urban Forestry has issued a request to deny the applications for that reason. The net impact of these changes is to negatively affect privacy, common green space, and contribute to erosion and flooding, which is already a problem on this part of the street, because as I noted in the letter of objection, Kenilworth is actually built on what used to be a creek. We're also of the view that the proposal is not appropriate for the use or development of the land for all the same reasons I just listed. Many houses on Kenilworth have been renovated in a manner that generally maintains the character of the street. That includes new builds. We actually did our own renovation last year and considered adding an extension until we consulted with our neighbors and determined they wouldn't be happy about it. It's pretty clear to us that this build will have a significant impact on a number of families in a manner that, in our view, is not consistent with Section 45 of the Planning Act. And I just want to say one more thing, if I have time. We're not opposed to development generally. What we take issue with is the development as currently proposed. It contemplates 2 massive houses that require a number of variances, including a depth much deeper than the surrounding houses and taking up a disproportionate amount of the lot. Our view is that there are other ways of building on the property that would address some of our concerns while still enabling the developer to build and make his profit. So either one larger dwelling, there are lots of other large houses on Kenilworth, or perhaps even 2 houses that are similar in size and dimension to ours and 170 Kenilworth, because our properties collectively have the same lot width as the site of the proposed development. So if that were done, for instance, that would address the really long brick wall and the tree removal, which in turn would obviate some of our privacy and environmental concerns. So I think that's it. Ultimately, we're respectfully requesting that committee either reject the applications or require modified, more suitable plans to be drawn up for the property that address our more serious concerns. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Panel members, there is a question for you from Mr. Solomon. Go ahead.
I wonder what your thoughts are on the proposed severance to create 2 lots that are 8 meters frontage each. How do those lot frontages fit with the character of the lots on this street?
Sorry, is this a question for me?
Yes, it is, Ms. Williamson.
Oh, okay, perfect. Thank you for the question. We've lived on the street since 2016, and I'm not a planning expert, so I can't comment on, what's been done in the past. As far as I know, this is the only lot severance that has been requested on Upper Kenilworth. I think in terms of the frontage, if you look at us and 170 Kenilworth, our houses are right beside each other. They're both quite tall, as you could see from the pictures, both 3 stories plus a basement. And I think we're not opposed to, we don't theoretically have an issue with two houses being put on the lot next door. Obviously, our preference would be for a larger dwelling, just in keeping with the character of the street. But Kenilworth is a mixed bag of properties. There's rental units, there's an apartment building right across the street, and we're certainly not opposed to that in theory. I think for us, the main concern is really just the sort of perceived narrowness of the property and requiring the houses to be set so far back and so deep, which sort of gives rise to a number of the issues that I've raised in my submissions. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. So is your preference, if there was to be a development on the properties, would you prefer that a new house be shifted forward?
Correct. That's correct. Yes. To the extent that, because again, that would address, I mean, our house, 172 Kenilworth and 170 Kenilworth are both, and you can see from the drawings there, situated, I guess you can't see 170 Kenilworth, but suffice it to say it's directly beside us. And so you can see we're located a bit further forward. And so to the extent that the new houses, even just the one directly to the north of us, could be set of even depth, I don't know what the official engineering term is for it, but built directly beside us, as well as shortening that build so it doesn't go so far back, that I think would go a long way with us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Further questions of this speaker panel? No? Okay. Let's go on then. Moderator, if you could unmute the next speaker, please.
Mr. Chair, we were unable to get a hold of Joanna Ivy, so perhaps we can move on to the next speaker.
Very good.
Ms. Laura Bone, you've been unmuted.
Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead, Laura. State your name. You're with the panel now.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Laura Bone. I am a direct neighbor of Emma, who just presented. I'm at 170 Kenilworth. And I think I just want to support Emma's really great presentation. Our concern, and where I think most of the neighbors are in agreement that we're not opposed to any development on that site. We have lived at that house for about 15 years now, so we have seen houses come and change quite a bit in the neighborhood, but we are concerned about being boxed in, as Emma has said, that we already have quite a retaining wall to the south of us, and the new build proposal proposes another retaining wall in the back, and the setback to the house really does create quite an invasion in terms of our backyards. Our neighborhood is really great about sharing space and keeping open space, so our relationships with our neighbors are quite important, and we have kept our backyards open for that purpose. So we are concerned that the setback of the house into the backyard really disrupts that kind of neighborly feel and further boxes us in. In addition, in terms of what's happening at 170, the house beside us to the south has just built a huge carport at the back of their house. So we are now boxed in at the back, and we're concerned about further boxing in with a new build that will be set further back. So that's our concerns. Of course, we're concerned about the trees. There have been many trees on Kenilworth that have disappeared over the last little while, so removing 2 trees is certainly a concern for us as well. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you very much. Panel members, questions for Laura? No. Thank you very much. Let's go to the next speaker. Moderator.
Miss Claudia Leclerc, you've been unmuted.
Hi, my name is Claudia Leclerc, and I live at 140 Kenilworth Avenue. I want to speak on the depth variance and the resulting issue of the tree removal, specifically the 2 Norway spruce.
Go ahead.
140 Kenilworth, which is south of the subject property and on the hill that Emma referred to. The hill runs north of Queen on the west side. This stretch of Kenilworth is a dead end and is comprised of approximately 20 houses. On this stretch of 20 houses, 5 mature and massive trees have been removed in 2020 and 2021 alone because of serious dieback or disease. The addresses include 118, 118 and a half, 140, and 160. This represents a tree removal on 20% of the properties on this particular strip, a substantial and worrisome statistic. The arborist that I engaged, because one of the trees was removed on my property, the arborist that I engaged to remove my 80-foot oak advised me that many, many more mature white oaks on Kenilworth are nearing the end of their lifespan. I think that we all appreciate the importance of trees in our midst, both aesthetically and environmentally. As we search for ways to control climate change, would the retention of these healthy trees on the subject property not be a tiny step on that path? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions, panel? Moderator? Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Viviana Von Bertoldi. I live at 152 Kenilworth Avenue with my husband and young son. And I support everything that has been mentioned by Claudia, by Laura, by Emma so far. I would like to add something that relates to the mature tree removals. And that is the negative impact that it will have on the local wildlife. I know we live in a large city. However, over the past several years, and especially the past few years, we have seen a lot of foxes move from the beach area, the boardwalk area, that move to our neighborhood. And that's where they birth their pups, and that's where they raise their pups and teach their pups how to survive. And I mean, I see them playing in our backyard, in our neighbors' backyards, using the space to get better at hunting, etc., and see their moms teach the kids. And I worry that, you know, the removal and the disruption in the natural area will negatively impact their life. So that's one thing that I want to put forward as well.
Thank you very much. Anything else? Any questions, panel, for the speaker? Thank you, speaker. Okay. Moderator, who's next?
Miss Judy Welpton, you've been unmuted.
Good afternoon.
Ms. Welpton, try unmuting yourself. Ms. Welpton, we're going to try giving you a call. Ms. Welton, we're trying to give you a call right now. We're probably getting your voicemail. Can you hear me?
It is really hard to hear which name you're calling. So I don't know, Bruce, maybe if you can say the name.
Yeah.
I don't know, the mics seem not to be picking up everything.
Oh, okay, thank you for that. Okay, Stanley, if you would, yeah, when you're speaking the names, speak more loudly, please.
Ms. Judy Welpton, are you there?
Stanley, why don't we try the next speaker, and you can, in the meantime, continue to connect with Judy.
Hi, Mr. Dixon, are you there?
Hello, my name is David Dixon. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I live and am a co-owner of 201 Kenilworth, across the street, not directly opposite the street, just a little bit across the street and a little bit north of the subject property. A number of quick comments. So first of all, I have no objections to the severance of the property into two properties. I've lived on this street for 40 years, and the lot width is consistent with many of the properties on the street. And secondly, although the question hasn't been asked, we would absolutely have no objections to the houses being situated closer to the street than currently proposed. Again, that would be consistent with the unique nature of this street. And if I might make a quick comment to help the committee, we've only owned the current property for a little over 2.5 years. Prior to that, we owned 116 Kenilworth, and I would share with you that this part of Kenilworth Avenue, the lower part, was a private street, a 15-foot wide private street that curved through, called Kenilworth Crescent, before it was petitioned to be moved over to the city and renamed Kenilworth Avenue. A consequence of that, when you look at the comparables that are being presented, is there's a great degree of difference in lot depth on this street. Properties are, some of the properties are well over 225 feet deep, while other properties are only 130 or 140 feet deep. So there's a lot of variation as a result of the unique nature of the street, and a lot of variation in terms of setback of properties to the street. I object to the current proposal on the basis that I believe that the buildings are just too big for the lots. I think that the setbacks, the side setbacks in particular, are problematic. They're just, they're going to lead to all kinds of future issues, and we have those requirements. And the buildings are too long. I'm also objecting particularly, and remember, I'm not the immediate neighbor, but in close examination, the side balcony proposal, particularly on the south building, is way too close to the bedroom windows of the adjacent property to the south. I mean, you're literally proposing, they're proposing to build a balcony that would be arm's length to the bedroom, accessible bedroom window of the property to the south. It's crazy. And my final comment would be that I'm really concerned about is that if the length of the buildings were shortened and the size of the buildings were just a little bit smaller with proper setbacks, then those two big, magnificent Norway spruce trees in the back could be saved. And they're a neighborhood treasure. So not objecting to severance, not objecting to two houses being built that are even closer to the street line than the current ones. But I think the side setbacks to the north and to the south of the two properties in particular are objectionable. And that's my comments. Thank you for
very
the
much.
opportunity.
There is a question for you, Dave. Hang on a second. Mr. Salomon, go ahead.
So we do have the site plan up, and I have a question for you. You had suggested that perhaps the two new houses that are proposed be shifted forward. And I'm wondering, what would that do to the house to the south of that? So wouldn't that stick out in front of that existing house? And would that create a potential impact?
Well, I am not the owner of that property, but looking at the plan, the front of the Part 2 house, and I apologize, I don't have the numbers at hand for what the reference is. The southern house is proposed, as it's currently proposed, is well back of 172. But I believe the co-owner of 172 is still on and perhaps would be better qualified to answer the question. But to me, I don't think it would be a problem if 170, 172 and the southern house that's proposed were in a line, if the fronts of those houses were in a line. If on the current plan you're looking at, for example, if you zoom out a little bit and look across to the east side of the street, you'll see what I was talking about, how a number of the houses farther on the very bottom of that plan are very close to the street line. And if you were continuing, you'd see even more examples of that. This is not unusual. We've got a lot of variation in the neighborhood.
Thank you very much. Any other questions for this speaker panel? No. Let me just consult with the moderator. Moderator, do we have Judy Welpton?
Ms. Judy Welpton, can you hear me? Ms. Welpton, you've been unmuted. Please unmute yourself.
So Stanley, she's showing as if she's on, but she's okay. We'll give it just a moment more, then we'll carry on.
Ms. Welpton, can you hear me? You've muted yourself again. Ms. Welpton, I'm going to try calling you.
We'll give this just a moment longer and see if we can make contact. In case Ms. Welpton has been waiting a long time to speak, I'd like to give her a chance, but we don't have too much more time for this.
Hi, Ms. Welpton, can you hear me? We're connected to your phone, Ms. Welpton. Hello, Ms. Welpton.
Stanley, I'm going to leave it there. You've tried valiantly to make contact, and we're just not able to. So, let's go back to the agent now. If I'm correct, Mr. Dixon was the final registered speaker on our list. Okay. And we'll go back now to the agent, who will have a chance, 5 minutes, to comment on in rebuttal the points that have been raised by the various speakers. And let's do that now. So, Mr. Mastrandea?
Hello, can you hear me?
We do hear you.
Yes, so if you could pull up the map that was sent out.
Sorry, please say that again.
Hello?
Hi, can you say that again, please?
Can you from the public notice?
Who wants the public notice?
The public hearing notice map. Go back one. The map. Yeah, there. Can you zoom in? As you can see,
Okay, Stanley, you're gonna have to talk to him.
You may be muffling your voice, Leo.
Pardon?
Try to speak directly into your microphone. You're cutting in and out.
So as you can see, can you hear me now?
Now you're good. Before we were losing every second word.
Okay, sorry. I'm sorry. So this lot is you can see that this lot is an anomaly in the fact that it once it's split will be consistent with the built form. We comply with the frontage, we comply with the lot area. In addition, the length of the properties are about 170 feet deep. If you can pull up the A1 of my architectural package. A1. Yeah, if you could, so the dotted line, as you can see, the dotted line that's in front of the houses, that is our average setback based on the adjacent dwellings. If you look at the dotted line that shows the existing house to be removed, it is in line pretty well with the house to the south. And also, it's almost as long as the house to the south is about the same size as the existing house. There's a one-story addition back there, so one of the houses projects, and the only reason the one house projects is because the street is on an angle. And to try to comply with the front yard setback, this is one of the reasons why we set our houses back. And in speaking with planning, that was one of the concerns that we addressed. Also, too, I'd like to bring up of my package, A9 of my architectural drawings. We specifically designed this house to keep in line with the existing built form. So we sloped our roof so that it's consistent and it fits the area. So our second and third floors are all both set back in. In addition, based on what I've been hearing from the neighbors, I'd like to make some small revisions to our variances if I could.
No, I'm not sure that that's going to work, Leo, because you have you've submitted materials today which the committee hasn't seen, and now to start changing variances, no, it's too late for that. Too late in the game for that now.
I just wanted to reduce some of the variances to address their concerns. That's was my only thing.
Yeah, no, it's too late in the game for that.
Okay. Well, then, I believe our variances are consistent with what's been approved and the built form. The lot is 170 feet deep, and this is why we had the opportunity to set the houses back further. The planning department had no concerns except to provide screening between the balconies on the upper floors, which the balconies face our houses. They do not face the neighboring houses. And if you have any questions, I can answer them.
Let's see if there are any. There is a question for you, Ms. Valentini. Go ahead.
Thank you. We have a report from Urban Forestry objecting to I believe the severance application on the basis that it's going to result in the destruction of a city-owned tree. We've also heard from neighbors about just the size of the structures and how they will impact the trees as well on the property itself. So can you speak to just the objection by Urban Forestry? Is it as a result of, I'm assuming it's a severance, but is it the driveways? Is there any way to achieve this without losing the city tree?
I believe if you make it a condition that we get forestry approval, we can address their concerns during the application process, which if we can save some of those trees and maybe reduce a little bit on the length to address their concern. So if you made it a condition, I believe that would be satisfactory.
A condition exactly to do what? Because I mean, they're specifically speaking to the city-owned tree, and it sounds like it needs to be removed.
If you made it a condition or forestry approval, then we can deal with forestry to address any of their issues.
So it's possible then for this to happen without the removal of the city-owned tree? Is that what you're telling me, or you're saying you're going to work it out with Urban Forestry later?
Yes, potentially it is. I'm not sure, but we can work it out with Urban Forestry. That's why if you made it a condition on Urban Forestry, we can deal directly with them.
Okay, Ms. Hayes, question from you.
Where exactly is the honey locust tree? It's not shown on the plans. The one that forestry is suggesting or noting in the front yard on city property.
We submitted a arborist report. If you can pull up our arborist report. If you go to I think at the end, there's a map. Yeah, there. So I believe I believe we can work with forestry to address their concerns and adjust our driveways.
Any further questions of the applicant, panel members? No, in that case, we've got to the point of taking the application into committee for comments, if anyone wishes to make a comment, and moving toward a decision. So we are now in committee on this application, and if anyone has any thoughts they'd like to offer, please go ahead now. Mr. Salomon, go ahead.
I think there are quite a few unresolved questions, certainly relating to the trees at the rear that could possibly be saved, and also the city-owned tree in the front yard. And also, I've heard suggestions from residents along the street that perhaps the proposed houses could be shifted frontward a bit, and maybe there's an opportunity to look at the building length as well. And so my suggestion would be to defer this application, because there are a number of issues that could still be resolved and could result in changes that could be brought back.
Thank you. Other thoughts, panel? Anybody else? Ms. Hayes, go ahead.
I would have some concern. First of all, with respect to the lot sizes, they're not undersized lots. So with respect to the severances itself, I have no issues with respect to that. With respect to the trees, there would have to be an application for injury removal of trees. I have some concerns with respect to the depth, but given the size of the lots, it's not, unprecedented. With respect to the lotting pattern and the setback, the step backs of the frontages, I think that I'm not certain that if the houses were brought forward to be more in line with the properties at like 172, then you may have a greater impact to the properties to the north, because then they are going to be, in comparison, the front of the house is going to be much further forward than the staggered pattern that the application is trying to maintain. I wouldn't object to a deferral if there's an opportunity to fine tune things, and the applicant's representative has suggested that after hearing the neighbors' submissions, that they may be amenable to making some changes to the application. So those would be my initial comments. Given the size and the massing of the other structures on this house, I don't think the resulting built form here with the setbacks and the roof lines is necessarily out of character with what already exists on that in the area.
Do you wish to say anything, Ms. Valentini?
Well, I have concerns about approving this application as it stands, particularly impact pointed out. My particular concern as well is that we've got a memo from Rivers Forestry requesting denial. And I think, I mean, we've gone this far in the application and we've had all these people waiting to ask for a deferral at this point. I understand that's a challenge, but if there's a chance to fine-tune the application so that the trees can be somehow saved, I would be in support of that. If that requires a deferral, then I would support a deferral. If that's not something that's possible, then I am not in support of the application if it means the removal of large trees, particularly the city-owned tree, which urban forestry objects to its removal. So I know that's a big circle in terms of what I just said, but as it stands, I can't support this application with the removal of that city-owned tree.
Right. And I think I would feel the same way. I know I can't support the application as it stands. The removal of city-owned trees is a real problem in my mind. Even the person who spoke that said that the consent to sever was okay. It was the actual, these houses are asking for depth and they're asking for side yard and so on, setbacks to increase the size. So there's a problem with the loss of the trees. There's a problem with the actual the two applications for variances in terms of the size of the house on the lots. So I could live with a deferral, and I could live with, frankly, with a refusal. But I can't approve the application. When we look at we are to consider these as the consent and the two minor variance applications jointly. So that's what we're looking at as you think about forming a motion.
I just think it's unfortunate that, some of these issues with respect to forestry have been known for a while. There could have been some discussions. If there is, in fact, an opportunity to change things that might allow forestry to be on side, I find it very frustrating that we're sitting here having all of this discussion, but it might be able to be satisfied. So that's just, my frustration. The only and I certainly agree with my colleague, we've sat and heard this whole thing now. I think we would be very generous if we're allowing for a deferral. I think in this case, there seems to be, in my opinion, some thought on even the part of the objectors that they're not totally against everything, but there's an opportunity for movement. So I would support a deferral, and I'd be prepared to move a motion to defer the application to allow the applicant to have discussions with urban forestry to see if they can adjust the position of urban forestry, but also, and as importantly, that the applicant have discussions with the people who have spoken at this session today to offer them or discuss with them any adjustments that they may be prepared to make or can make to address some of the concerns that have been raised here today. So I would move a motion to defer.
There is a motion. It is Mr.
If I can just
go ahead.
add a comment to that motion. And in terms of the trees, that the deferral provides an opportunity for the applicant to review how they can try and save some of the trees, especially the city-owned tree at the front.
Do we want to make that a condition?
No,
Could
it's
we
just
make it
to
a
clarify
condition
that it's not for, it's not that urban forestry changed their mind, but rather that the applicant somehow revise their plan to ensure that some of these trees can in fact be preserved?
Yeah, I would agree. I expect that urban forestry wouldn't change their position unless there was an applicant brought forward a change in the application. But I think those conversations have to happen, and if urban forestry isn't satisfied, they're going to come back with the same recommendation. So let's hope that there can be some fruitful discussion with all parties.
Well, we can add a condition here.
I would support that motion for deferral.
But we haven't decided quite yet on what our condition is. Is our condition that the revised application would need to protect city-owned trees?
No, it's just that they have to have that discussion with urban forestry. Urban forestry is going to come up with their own position. But I don't think urban forestry is going to be swayed unless there's a change. But I'm not going to direct. Okay. I'm not going to direct that. Okay. I'm just saying that it has to be a consideration, and that's the reason they're getting the deferral. But I don't think I want to make, in my opinion, will not make it a condition.
Okay. Let's see if staff, are you satisfied you've captured the intent of our motion here? The deputy.
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, that's correct.
Thank you. Okay. Okay then. We have a motion. I believe, Mr. Solomon, have you seconded that motion? You have seconded.
Yes. Yes, I am.
So moved and seconded to defer the application as spelled out in order to allow consultation with urban forestry and with neighbors. All those in favor, show of hands, please. A unanimous vote carries the motion. The application is so deferred. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we just need to take a moment to switch over the live streams.
Very good. So technical requirement now, those watching on YouTube and panel members, we need to make a switch. It'll take about 2 minutes to do. We'll be right back in 2 minutes.
For those watching on the YouTube live stream, the stream is going to end in a moment. Just take a minute and research Committee of Adjustment, Toronto East York, January 12th, 2022, and you'll see the new stream available.